Here.
House Jones, Jones, McCormick,
Present.
Spencer, Griffin.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a point.
Thank you so much. Let the record reflect Council President Blaine Griffin is been appointed to the committee this morning. All right. We're going to start with ordinance number 406-2024 by council members House Jones, Harrison, and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to sell certain city-owned properties no longer needed for the city's public use located at 1848 East 101st Street and 9910 Woodward Avenue to Gordon Crossings Land Co. LLC for purposes of future development. All right, good morning, Director, Commissioner, Frontlines, one and only. Well, I shouldn't say one and only, two and only. Good morning. All right.
Good morning, Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I believe that you all are all pretty aware of this project that's been going on for quite a while. I'll have James speak to, and our developer speak to their project. Happy to answer any questions after that.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Mr.
Before you
Chair.
get started, on your tablets, you have the presentation for 406 is on your tablets. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. 406-2022. This is about the selling of 2 parcels of land for the Gordon Crossing low-income housing tax credit project. We're joined at the left by the Frontline Development Team that's part of Gordon Crossing Land Company, LLC, formed with Walter Cooper Corporation. So to my left is Sheila Wright, who's with Frontline Development, and Angela Bennett, who is also with Frontline Development Corporation. So what I'm going to do first, just to lay some context, is just to show where the parcels are that we're talking about for the development. Then I'm going to pass it over to the Frontline Development Team so they can speak very briefly about the project that we're transferring the parcels for.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So. Okay. So what you have on your screen now are the parcels that are part of the land assembly for the Gordon Crossing LIHTC project. The parcels in green are land bank parcels that we're in the process of transferring now. We're actually drafting the deed for those parcels. The parcel in red is a parcel that's already owned by Gordon Crossing Land Company, LLC. And then the 2 parcels that are in sort of the goldish color are the parcels that we're transferring for the project. Parcel 119-12057 is the parcel, the gold parcel in the upper right, and 119-12084 is to the left. The purpose, again, for this meeting here today and us seeking legislative approval is that unlike the land bank where we have legislative authority to transfer to other parties and dispose of land in a different fashion, we have to seek legislative authority for anything that's labeled City of Cleveland land. First, learning what department has jurisdiction, and then getting legislative authority. So that's why we're here today on those 2 parcels. Then the next slide gives you currently what the site looks like today. The red dot is where the development is going. And I'm going to transfer this over to Sheila now for the Frontline team to speak about the project.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and thank you, Director, for your support. Good morning to this committee through the chair, Blaine Griffin. My name is Sheila Wright with Frontline Development Group. I'd like to introduce my partner, Angela Bennett, with Frontline as well. So as Commissioner Green has stated, we are here about a project, Gordon Crossing. This project is located at Woodward Avenue near East 101st Street. So this is a different project. A lot of you have been working with, we know, another project, and sometimes it gets kind of converged. But this is the Gordon Crossing project. And this project is, it's 46 units of LIHTC. and 8 market rate units, so it's a mixed income project. It is a result of a 9% low-income housing tax credit award, and we will have variations of AMI throughout the project. We have engaged the community around this. We have been well received. We've made adjustments based on community feedback. So we're very proud of this project, and we appreciate the committee's support and our request to transfer these parcels that are essential to our development. Angela, would you like to add anything?
Again, thank you for having us. The other thing that, I guess walking through the slide, that I would just also like to add that we have received the tax credit approval from OFA, and the project is almost to approval, permit issuance this week. So we've gone through the process, and we are ready to close and have a planned closing in June. So this is the reason for the urgency of the transfer of the property. Thank you.
Probably would help if I go through the slides.
Okay.
So again,
And please make sure you use the mic. Thank you.
oh, thank you. So again, this is just, information about where it sits. To Angela's point, we hope to start construction this summer and place it in service in 2025, fourth quarter. Here again, the parcels that we need for this project, and 2, as Commissioner Green highlighted, we will need out of legislation with this committee. This is kind of a breakdown of the unit mix of the property. So of the 46 LIHTC units, there will be we have 42 2-bedroom units and 12 3-bedroom units, so families will be able to take advantage of this. In terms of the 8 market rate units, those will all be 2-bedroom. And this is just kind of a rendering of our work, the exterior. It looks, oh, there we go. And again, this is just a reiteration of our unit mix. We hope to, work to see, as indicated here, singles, young professionals, seniors, all types of households of every income decile. As you all know, University Circle is a thriving neighborhood. This is on the periphery of University Circle, but this will allow families to participate in the rise of investment that's going on over there with considerable institutions in the area, as you know.
And I just want to add, this has been consistent with the values of Frontline to promote mixed income developments, because it is important to have a variation of units so that we can spur hope, particularly amongst our families, of opportunities when they do see the mixed incomes and professionals that are in the area.
Okay. I think that's it. And also, we would be remiss if we did not mention obviously our development partner with this project, Walter Cooper Company. So we've been working with them to bring this project forward.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Directors, anything else you'd like to add?
No, the only thing, Mr. Chairman, that I would add is that the area which I didn't speak to as I showed the map is a very hot market area. It's in the Upper Chester area next to University Circle in Huff. We are seeking to sell the parcels for $200 each, which is what we're selling the land bank for, which is consistent with fair market value for low-income housing tax credit projects.
Got it. Thank you. Anything, Director?
Just wanting to say, this is exactly the type of project that we like to see and to support, and could not be happier to get here to this point where we can bring this to you and see this project through. So we are extremely supportive of this project, and I know that this is the representation of a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of work, and this is exactly the type of thing that we want to see in our communities mixed income, access to all the resources. And this is just exactly the type of project that we'd like to see. So just wanting to note that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And if I'm not mistaken, you have full support from Councilwoman House Jones, correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. All right. Absolutely. And, before we go to the committee, it's good to see faces like yours sitting at this table here this morning. We don't have many of you two, doing this type of work across the city. And so for me, this is a big deal for us here this morning that, this is completed, this is done. So you can begin to really play in this space, right? Like so many others are playing across our city and our region. So, we are happy to hear this morning and want to make sure that we do all that we can to support you all. We go to Council President Griffin, and then Councilman McCormick, and then Councilman Harsh.
All right. First of all, thank you and echo your comments, Mr. Chair. Great to see these young ladies at the table jumping into the development arena, and really excited about this project, and just wanted to make sure that I lend my support as well, because I really know what work has gone into developing this. Development is hard, it takes a long time, and these two young ladies, to their credit, have been very patient and very steady in their perseverance pursuing these projects, okay? I just did have a couple questions. This is more for Mr. Green and Ms. Hernandez, Director Hernandez. How do we evaluate, or what do we get in order to establish the price points for these parcels? And how do you do that with some of these parcels so that we're not either overcharging or undercharging? Director?
Thank you for the question through the chair. So this goes a little bit different than how we typically do. So I will talk about what is a typical case and why this is not fit within that. So for city land bank parcels, of which these lots are not. But the policy for city land bank parcels is that the fair market value is set by a representative appraisal. So we've done several representative appraisals throughout the city. That gives us a number per square foot. Then we multiply the lot against that price, and that's how we come up with typical fair market value through that representative evaluation. However, because our goal is to promote this type of housing and any kind of affordable housing, what we do is we reduce that rate to the same price that we would a side yard, which is $200. So acknowledging that this is a community benefit, acknowledging that this is something that the city has already supported in many other ways, and this is, again, the type of project that we want to see, we then lower that price to an amount that is reasonable.
And through the chair to the director, I'm glad you articulated that. And this is why. A lot of people don't understand how development works, and people think that it's a cookie cutter type of approach. And what you described is what has made them be able to pretty much put AMIs, which I have seen that haven't been comparable for any project that's been brought in front of us. Most people have their AMI set at 65 or 75% of the project is at 80%, which many times is not affordable rent for many people living in poverty in our community. So the fact that you're able to sell a project, sell a property for this amount and be able to have a developer make it, I believe they said 80, 90, or how many percent LIHTC?
So we have 46 units that are LIHTC.
Out of the 54.
Out of 64, 46 are LIHTC, 8 are market rate.
So just out of the developments that I've
85%.
seen, that's unheard of. So I just want to try to make sure that people understand the unicorn that we're seeing here, that this is like not normal in this specific footprint, which is why we need to do whatever we can to be supportive of this kind of project. Because most people try to come to us, get LIHTC for the 9%, they want tax abatements, they want all the other tools that we're getting, and then they want to jack up and put an 80% AMI, which is unacceptable, some even at 100% AMI. And to have a majority of this project, most of the units be affordable in this market where we're trying to grow population, I think is phenomenal. So I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted a couple of things on this. The only last thing that I did want to make sure I ask, I would never ask for trade secrets because you guys wouldn't give it to me anyway. But how did you pull off getting a mixed LIHTC when I know that OFA is really moving towards trying to make you do all of one or the other? They really don't like mixed income, if I'm not mistaken. And some
Yeah.
of the experience I've had over the last 5 to 8 years, OFA doesn't really like to do mixed income projects. So how did you pull that off?
Thank you for that question, Council President. Through the chair, I will respond. So we were fortunate as Frontline to be awarded funds from Cuyahoga County to do a mixed income project. And as you all know, we are working to parallel paths to bring on projects. This project began to move, and we had an opportunity to direct those funds. So it allowed us to layer the capital stack with these additional funds and bring condoize these other units and add these additional units. So we're very excited to be able to bring that. And we're clear that mixed income is an opportunity to provide everyone, to be able to take advantage of these investments, to your point.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I just say this in closing. It's imperative for us to help projects like this succeed, not because I know the character and value of these two young ladies, but because of the examples it was set for us to be open to African-American, Hispanic, women developers, which is why we originally invested in their project in the Huff area, because if you remember, it was the day of the women developer. And the fact that they've stuck with it for longer than 6 years, I think that we need to make sure that we stand this up as a way to continue to be supportive of it. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be back for the piece
Got
that
it, Mr. President. Some of it has to do with us here in the city of Cleveland. So we're going to leave that right there. So we
lot
thank
of
you
it.
for, staying the course and not, walking away and taking your ball and going home. So thank you. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you here today at the table.
Councilman.
I'll be brief. I also speak in support of this ordinance, and I'll say that I'll go a step further from my colleague here. I mean, this is exactly what we should be using public land for. In my opinion, the city of Cleveland should not be holding on to land that does not have a public purpose. And when we have an awesome use and development like this, we should be doing everything we can to offload that public land so that we don't have to mow it, take care of it. They call Councilwoman House Jones about the grass is too high, da 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 da. So this is so much more, not only a great investment in the community development, quality housing for families in our community, but also repurposing public land into a great use. So, Director, I know you're of this mindset, but I appreciate the city. When it comes to a project like this, we're not trying to say, good news, the land is $500,000. This is a great public purpose for housing for folks in our community, and I fully support the policy of ensuring that we're offloading this in a manner that recognizes the benefit that this development will bring to the community. So fully support this legislation. Excited to see this moving. I went on the map to kind of pull up exactly where it's kind of tucked back a little bit, but a great location, really great location. Walkable, and quite frankly, there's probably a lot of folks that work at the Cleveland Clinic or University Hospitals that will be able to live here. That's right. That may not be able to afford other housing in the neighborhood, but will be able to live here, and it'll be walking distance from their job. So this is really exciting. You got a great development team here today, folks I've known for a very long time. But Director, thank you, and Commissioner, for your work in getting this great project done. And again, I hope we continue to view our public land policy in a way that offloads land that we don't need, and in a price in a manner that supports great new development like this. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll also try to be brief because this is a fantastic project. I just want to point out a couple things that I really appreciate about this. The 12 three-bedrooms Three bedrooms are absolutely vital for families. I know my girls share a bedroom, but they will not share a bedroom with their brother, right? It's not going to happen. So 3 bedrooms is really what makes families happy, and allows people to move their whole family into an apartment complex like this. And I think that's fantastic that there's 12 of them. I think President Griffin was asking, but I'm not quite sure I heard the answer. I'm used to seeing 80% as well. And is the 70% through the chair a mandate of the project or a preference of you? How did the 70% come to be?
Thank you for that question, Councilman, and through the chair, it's a preference of the development team.
That's incredibly well thought out, and a lot of foresight has gone into this. This is a wonderful project. And I would say the location on this couldn't be any better. It's 2 blocks from Chester, right around the corner from Newton. Newton Avenue is one of Cleveland's best kept secrets. It's the most charming street in Cleveland on particular days. So adding density to this area and putting more people in that makes it a safer neighborhood. It makes it a more walkable community. It'll add to the vibrancy of the community. I'm really excited about the location of this. I would just wrap up by saying that with 20,000 vacant lots in Cleveland, I would consider almost any development to be a benefit to the community. I understand that not every development can check off as many boxes as this with 3 bedrooms, with affordability rates that really just make us all excited. But nearly any development in Cleveland right now is beneficial to the community, and I would encourage us to keep thinking that way. We don't want to be a city of empty lots. We want to be a city of people. And in order to have people, we need places for them to live, and we need to develop all these 20,000 empty lots. So I hope that we find other reasons to support more development as well. But this is a fantastic project. I'm really excited to see it go up, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Councilman Harsh. If I may add, too, that the mix is also informed by our lived experiences as young teen mothers who have had to struggle with housing insecurity. And we recognize that 80%, to Council President's point, 80% of AMI is not affordable. And so, you know, I think this is also why it's so critical to have a diversity of developers in the city who can also bring their lived experiences to the development as well.
Absolutely, and since the subject is here, if people are like watching this at home and they don't understand why 80% AMI is not affordable, 80% AMI is established in DC. It's established in Washington and on the East Coast where housing prices are way dramatically higher than ours. 80% AMI is what everybody in Cleveland considers market rate. As a matter of fact, 80% AMI, some people might still consider a little bit too expensive, even if you're just like regular, you know, middle income person in the city of Cleveland. 80% AMI is our market. So getting below that is really important for our residents. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And it's funny because when we're talking about AMIs, and first, which your response is exactly what I thought. I said, this is why we have to support developers and people who look like you with your type of lived experiences, right? Because you bring something different to these projects. You feel differently, you think differently. I mean, it's not all about making money, it's about helping those, right? And infusing some of what you've been through in the process. And that's what I see in this project, you know. All right. Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I'm going to echo the same comments, but just a little tweak different. These ladies that are here before us are not just here as they're here in the professionalism of developing this project, but they're Cleveland's homegrown ladies. They've not only have they lived in this city, but they have paved the path with their time and their energy to get engaged in Cleveland and to help Cleveland along on various different projects. And you would just have to see their resumes to see their involvement over the years and to get into this space in this field. Certainly, that's what Cleveland should be doing a lot more of. You just didn't live here, but you got engaged, got involved, were committed and dedicated, and you didn't leave Cleveland. There's so many people who have left Cleveland because it has been difficult to get into the market space, to do this work here that you're sitting here right now. And you started, what, several years ago, at least several years ago, trying to get into the market space and have been able to successfully get here to this point. And so what I would say, Mr. Chairman, to our director and to our administration, we should do everything we can to promote these young ladies here, their corporation, and any other homegrown Clevelanders who have waved and have worked and have, in some instances, slaved themselves to get where they are. We should promote them and we should highlight them. And I just want to thank you for your commitment and your dedication and your sense of faith that I know both of you have. And I'm appreciative to be here at the table to see this project go forward. And so I just want to just say, pour on here, and whatever I think that the city can do to help you, they should be doing that. With that, Mr. Chairman, I have a question to the director.
All right. Director?
Have we took assessment, and this is not just indicative to this project, but future projects as we move forward, when it talks about families? When we look at single families, is it 2 kids or 1 kid, or what's I mean, because we know that not too many people are having babies anymore. So what is constituting the size of a family today, do we know, the average size?
Councilman, through the chair, you have stumped me. I don't have a good response for you as to what is family. I know 2.5 was has been the average for a long time. As you noted, we are trending less because of folks like me who are waiting to have kids until later in life.
Right.
And so I don't have a good response for you there. I will say though, as far as unit mix, when we think about, single family, it is usually just that one unit. So we are normally talking about things in terms of unit and number of bedrooms, not necessarily, the amount of people who are in there. But that is something that I'm going to look up. I would actually probably venture to say that the folks at CMHA probably have a good response to that, being that they deal with families. And I know that there are HUD restrictions for their work on how many rooms, who can be in what room and whatnot.
Okay. And then I'm looking at the map here, Mr. Chairman, and I see that there's a park back here, Newton Avenue Park. Are we looking at maybe, and there's a lot of land back here too, so I'm not sure if this land has been taken up yet, or is that a part
Go
of?
back. Oops. What? There we
Yeah,
go.
right there. So is this space right here, we know that this is going to be part of the project.
Correct.
Right? So then what happens in this space in here? I mean, is there
There's
some potential for development in that section?
there's
That's the whole map. It's being developed.
it's being developed.
Is development that's happening there too?
We will have more development plans.
Okay. Well, no further questions, and again, congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilwoman House Jones.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
I think everybody has just, talked about the Gordon Proston project, and what I can tell you from the development team's perspective, I really do think they have put forth a standard when you talk about real community engagement. We have had several community engagement meetings to get people's feedback, even at times when there be some happening to parcels where the development team has made me aware of them so that we can intercede and stop unwanted partners, not even partners, unwanted people from getting parcels they probably shouldn't have. So I'm very grateful from them beyond community engagement, taking the time to, do a series of I would say contractor and subcontractor meetings to ensure that you actually have a construction team that is reflective of the city of Cleveland, not, relying upon the council's person office to figure it out. It's just, no, Councilwoman House Jones, this is what we have. Do you know any other people that you want to add to the mix, but actually doing the work? So as we have developers that come and say they cannot find people, they don't know, and all the litany of excuses.
That's right.
This is a demonstration, a mighty team of women who have demonstrated what you can do, right? So I really feel like this body needs to stop making excuses for developers for not incorporating a diverse portfolio that is reflective of the city of Cleveland. It has been done. It is showing that it can be done, and if there is a willing heart and spirit, then it will be done. So I'm going to leave that there. Congratulations. I know you have all worked extremely hard and are very gracious, and at times, things that have been less than ideal, I will say that. It is extremely difficult at times to work in this space when people want you to fail, and I'm just going to say that, period. From inside city council and outside of city, I'm not city council, I'm gonna say city of Cleveland. Inside of city hall and outside of city hall, right? And for them to have a level of persistence, despite the odds, when people directly will tell you to your face, I don't want you to succeed. And that has happened. They haven't complained, they haven't put people on blast the way they should be. And I've been gracious enough to follow their lead because I'm not that type of person. And I feel like anytime that you have people that are committed to your community, why wouldn't you help them?
That's right.
Why wouldn't you help them? Why would you have this level of just a nastiness and a negative energy to really try to set people up to fail? It's not right. And so hopefully people hear my message and will say, moving forward, I'm not going to be as gracious moving forward if this type of behavior continues in City Hall. People need to stop, be helpful, or get out the way, or go somewhere else. Because you should not be a servant in City Hall with that type of behavior and that type of attitude. You know what I'm saying? And it's just disturbing. It's disturbing. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it because there's a lot of praise, but people do not know just what Sheila and Angela had to go through to get to this point. The lack of communication. I mean, it's just it was a lot of messed up stuff. You know what I'm saying? But they are gracious. And I know it's going to be beautiful, and I know it's going to be an added value. But the real behaviors going on in this building must stop. Must stop. Because we are trying to transform lives and attract people to our city. And it's hard to do it when there's no commitment throughout this building to make sure that people get a real opportunity, an equitable opportunity to be developers, to create resources and opportunities for communities where a lot of people say they ain't gonna do it. We can't force them to do it, but they've been willing to do it. So I'm so proud of you all. I'm excited for you all. And again, I am here to be your partner because you all you're gonna do great work. So thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Councilwoman House Jones. I mean, she said it, and no one on this body is going to tolerate, folks placing, fabricated obstacles in folks' way, and particularly those who are minorities who are trying to do this work, where it is already difficult and those are at a disadvantage, but when I hear those type of things happening, it doesn't make me happy at all, obviously. It makes us want to dig in more, right, Councilwoman House Jones? For sure. All right. Thank you. See no further questions. Ordinance number 406-2024 stands approved. Thank you all. Congratulations again.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much.
All right,
to this
take care.
committee and this body. Thank you.
Absolutely. Madam Clerk, we're going to go to pivot to 261 Jesse Owens House. Actually, nope, we're not. We're going to wait for a second. Wait for him. We're going to go to 398-2024. I apologize. overlooked our guest that we had in the audience. I'm sorry. Come on up. Ordinance number 398-2024 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into an agreement with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland or its designee to assist with costs related to outreach assistance and administration of the UBIZ microloan fund and assistance, training and planning for small businesses through the Entrepreneurship Center. All right, good morning. I see our wonderful CEO, our Deputy CEO. All right, and other staff. All right, thank you all. Good morning, Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm joined today by Marsha Maccabee, President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, and Michael Obie, not the Deputy Director, but the President and CEO of UBIZ Ventures in Capital, which is a part of Urban League, and Afoma Ezepe from our staff, who has been working very hard to get us to this point. Urban League of Greater Cleveland has been a great partner to the Department of Economic Development over the years, helping to support small businesses throughout the city of Cleveland. As you know, we support a number of organizations through the Department of Economic Development that help us move our work forward in the city of Cleveland, Urban League being one of them. They have prepared a short presentation today to kind of let you guys know what they've been up to the last year and the metrics they've hit, and I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Maccabee to get that going.
Thank you. Before we move forward, Mrs. Maccabee, to all committee members, the presentation is also on your tablet as well, if you'd like to follow along that way. Thank you. Turn it over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Good morning.
council members. Council President's gone, okay. We're happy to be here before you today. As you know, we consider ourselves a real partner to the city. We partner in many ways with the city. I've had the privilege and pleasure of co-chairing the Racism as a Public Health Crisis work that was done here, was part of the Community Benefits Agreement development. And we also have been working on the Rebuild the Land project here. So we partner in many ways with many of you and many of you in the wards. So this project wraps around all of those things and continues to give us the platform and the ability to help businesses to develop, grow, and strive and build wealth.
Yes.
And so we're very, very happy. I'm happy to have Michael Obie as my colleague in this work, who has done a yeoman's job and who in his own right has done a wonderful job leading in the UBIZ revolving loan fund arena, which is our separate, just so everybody's clear, is the separate 501c3 for the loan fund business part that is under the banner of the Urban League. But the magic of how this thing works is that the Entrepreneurship Center, which Michael also helps to oversee, works hand in hand with the UBIZ venture capital work. And so the technical assistance, if you'll take a look at the page that talks about how the Entrepreneurship Center is arranged, it's this page. I do have the control. Oh. Okay, so we have solutions for every stage of the business cycle. You can see that the Small Business Development Center and the MBAC Minority Business Assistance Center are both programs that are hosted and co-funded by the state of Ohio, and the SBDC also has funding from the SBA. These programs that we host are the places where we provide technical assistance to businesses. We help them to get started, grow and develop, and the coaching and the support from our business advisors is critical to the work. And then our very creative president of the UBIZ Venture Capitals continues to bring innovation to us at the table through our UBIZ Connect program and our UBIZ Venture Capital. One of the things that Michael said to me a few years ago was, as we continue to talk about what are the gaps in this area, what is the thing that's stopping businesses from growing and developing and really beginning to develop, to attain wealth? And the thing he said to me is, access to capital continues to be one of the biggest problems. And so we said, how do we, get into, much like the group that we saw before us, we said, let's kind of get out of the box thinking here, and let's step out and do something different and do something innovative. And Michael brought the idea of UBiz Venture Capital. We are one of the few loan portfolio programs that is operating that is not a CDFI. And that has been because we have been tutored and mentored under some other organizations where we learned the craft, and because of the track record of the loans that we have made, have been able to attract and draw other investors to the work that we're doing. So this is a multifaceted package of services for every stage of the business cycle at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, and we're here today to ask for your support to continue to be in partnership with us so that we can continue to serve. And I'll turn it over to Michael.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning.
Good morning.
I thank you all for the opportunity to come before you again. This journey has been, actually this year will be 20 years. A lot of people didn't think that Urban League could pivot into economic development because of the history of the Urban League has not been in entrepreneurship. But we saw a decline in employment, especially black men, during the manufacturing sector that experienced great recession in 2000 during the dot-com boom, and a lot of manufacturing facilities moved to China and other countries through to outsourcing. So we started this work to create jobs, like it used to be during segregation, where neighborhoods had small businesses that were vibrant. So that's really the why we got into this. And we continued, like Madam President mentioned, we continue to innovate. We've done technical assistance, and I want you to really, celebrate with us this umbrella ecosystem that we've created. We are actually the envy of many cities that have under one roof SBDC, which is an SBA program that is national. We have SBDC, Small Business Development Center, and the State of Ohio Minority Business Assistance Center in the same roof. MBAC helping with certifications, bonding, contracts, all the set-aside program from the state, and bringing it to the City of Cleveland contractors. SBDC helping small businesses have a place to receive the technical assistance, business plan, how to register your business properly so you have proper foundation. And of course, to top it up, we have the Accelerator program, which we started in 2011 when Madam President took over the helm at the Urban League as the CEO to help businesses that have high potential for growth, because a lot of those businesses get ignored and they don't have the capacity to hire talent. So what we've done is that we've recruited the talent to help those small, but not too small, to have technical expertise, legal, accounting, CFO type support. And then we're now into the lending business, which we started in 2016 with partners from New York and different places. But after a while, we decided that it's better to have loan committee that know the community, that know your wards, that know the businesses very well versus people voting on loans from California and New York about businesses in the community. So that's our background. So let's talk about what we've done. We are a very metric-driven organization. My background is banking. I was a finance guy at Key Bank for many years. So I don't know how to run business without numbers. So we track, and we have a history that go back 20 years. We have a CRM system, so we don't just talk the talk. We show you evidence of what we're doing. In 2023, That number, clients we serve, these are real. These are real individuals that walk through our doors, received workshops, one-on-one counseling, about close to 2,000. Right after COVID, that number was almost 2,500 because we were able to serve people virtually, and which has also become now our model because businesses, as they're running their business, they don't have to drive all the way to Midtown to participate in some of the technical assistance workshops. We did that during the PPP loan, where our businesses were struggling on how to fill out all these forms, how to take advantage the idle loan. So we're able to serve many people virtually. And that has been a very cost-effective model for us. And you see our goal for 2024, so we can continue to do the work. Economic impact is the last one that I want to talk about. These are not like formulaic. These are real numbers. That's the addition of loans, contracts, and different type of direct equity investment that businesses receive to start and stay in business. So last year we did about $7 million in loans and $23 million in contract. Right after COVID, when there were a lot of work in the community, that number was $99 million in 2021. So we are now back to what the normal rate is. That's our goal is $42 million for 2024. If you have any questions, you could ask me. And then I wanted to bring it home in our loan fund in terms of the last time we were here, we talked about, I know a lot of the councilmen and women want to know, what have you done for my ward lately? You know, how many of these businesses are in my ward? Of course, we are a lending institution. There's some privacy. I can't mention names of clients, but if we meet, and actually Councilman Harrison and we all work in one of the businesses in your community that is providing great service in substance abuse that bought a building on Euclid Avenue that we helped to finance. But out of the 48 loans we've made, 44% of those loans are in the city of Cleveland. 54% in terms of dollars are businesses in your wards. So we began to track that. Another piece, because we have some banks that are investors, they care about LMI. So 70% of the dollars we lend out are in LMI communities across all our footprint. So those are just a quick highlight. In summary, the final comment I want to make, see if you have any questions. Our model is one that leverages dollars nationally. We have brought in, to really make this work, is we have always been partnering with national organizations. PepsiCo Foundation during COVID partnered with National Urban League, and Cleveland happened to be one of 12 cities that were selected nationally to run over 5 years Black Restaurant Accelerator program. That program, the beauty of it is that it put direct dollars into restaurants that need to pivot technology, online ordering, delivery services. So everyone that went through that program received $10,000 directly from Pepsi Cash, and grant is not a loan. So we're pleased to say that all the restaurants that have gone through this program, 55% of them are City of Cleveland restaurants. So we've really been we've served about 26 Black restaurants over the past 4 years. Walmart, last year we graduated 10 wonderful Black women that are manufacturing some kind of product that need to get into big box stores like Walmart, Target, Macy's, Myers. And about 50–60% of them are City of Cleveland Black women businesses. I'm pleased to announce that 5 or 6, I think 6 of them are already in Myers and Fairfax. And we started a 2024 cohort, and our goal has expanded into Giant Eagle partnerships. So these products that are being made locally here could be in the local grocery stores in your community. So we're very proud of that. And finally, the last work accelerator we started with Sherwin-Williams and the Browns that leverage outside dollars is the construction. We've always wanted to have inclusion in construction, and we're in our second cohort now. That class will be graduating next week. We'll be glad for you all to join us in that graduation at Corporate College. So those are kind of highlights of what we've been doing lately and what we plan to do in the future. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Obie. For those who are listening, can you explain what LMI is?
Low to moderate income neighborhoods.
Got it. Okay. Someone asked what was LMI, and so I want to make sure that you put that out there. Thank you. And you had one more slide here, which I think is you should not.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
forget
this
about.
slide is just an appendix to a little more details from the summary that I shared earlier, and also it showed you our trajectory, our trend in terms of pre-COVID. As I mentioned earlier in my previous statement, the pre-COVID we were seeing about 1,000 clients a year. You could see now we've doubled the people we serve. And our cost of delivery is actually less because of efficiencies and using Zoom and video conferencing to do most of our services. In the past, before COVID, one-on-one counseling, you have to come in person or we have to go to you. Now we found ways to engage clients on counseling sessions through video conference. Yeah. So, but these are the details of the numbers that I shared earlier.
Got it. Now, I didn't want you to skip this because I thought this was important to
Very
show
important.
kind of where you were and how you are continuously trending upward.
That's right.
In the work that you are doing in our neighborhoods, and so that's very important. And before we go to the committee for questions, Director and our Urban League team, can we get a breakout by ward, kind of where you all have provided support for businesses throughout the city of Cleveland?
Yeah, we track those on the lending side. The data in terms of 2,000 businesses is not 100% because not everybody tells you exactly where they live when they come to workshop. So it's not a perfect number, but on the lending side, yes, we
Well,
can.
not the individual, in the lending side, correct?
Yes.
Not the individual in particular, but, kind of where the business is located.
Sure.
Or the client, if you have the client served, based on their information, kind of where ward they fall, if they're a City of Cleveland resident or City of Cleveland business. So
Yeah, we can
that kind
provide
of
that.
data by ward would be helpful. So the department can work with you to put together some data that shows kind of a breakdown by
Sure.
ward. All right?
Yep.
Thank you. Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just say that, I've been city council for quite some time now, and I'm thoroughly, completely impressed with this presentation. And for a number of reasons, I'm impressed with it. The first, I think, the Urban League certainly being able to get you as an add-on has been beneficial. Seeing these productivity numbers are just outstanding. Let me ask a question, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Obie, if you know. You may not know. Our financial institutions in the city of Cleveland, it's one of the things that, I've been here and this has been something that goes all the way back since probably the last 100 years in the minority neighborhood in terms of investments. And one of the reasons we see the problems we have in minority neighborhoods all across the nation is because of economic discrimination and the failure just to invest. We have to plead with companies and corporations and businesses to come do business with our neighborhoods. It is horrible that we stand in the present day now in redlining that's actually happening in the city of Cleveland and in urban cores throughout right now. And nothing is being said about it. So let me ask you this question. Do our financial institutions, if we had to have them to make a similar presentation, could they say they're doing the same thing like this in a minority neighborhood? Ms. Obie?
That's a loaded question. I can't speak to the financial institutions. As you know, banks are regulated. They have CRA goals. So I was a banker, and I'm still still in the game of banking. So they all have their individual CRA goals that is mandated by the federal law. So I can't speak to the banks. However, we do partner with banks. A lot of our funders, some of the work that we do wouldn't happen without funding from the banks. We partner with them in providing education to our small businesses on how to become more bankable. They also like the work we do because we're a pipeline. A lot of these businesses are not ready for commercial lending. That's the truth, okay? Borrowing money to buy a Cadillac is easier than getting a $10,000 business line of credit because there's collateral on the car. A business loan is a little more high risk because once it's gone, there's not a lot to collect if the business spent it for payroll and there's really no collateral. So we help work with the banks to get our businesses ready, to take out all those roadblocks in terms of having their financials in place, filing their taxes, so that we can now get them ready and send them over to the local banks for SBA loan and things like that. So we do partner. There's still a lot of work to do. I'm not trying to say that everything is perfect. That's why we're doing this. If it was perfect, we wouldn't be doing lending. You know, if the banks were doing it and everybody have access to capital like they should, we wouldn't be doing this. But we have to do it because there's a bridge that is required before they get to the bank.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you know, I got a series of questions, but I don't want to delay it. I'd love to have the opportunity to come and just shadow the program.
Sure.
And see how it works. I think that would probably be a really open eye experience for me, and then I can bring that information back to you, Mr. Chairman, and let you know about, you know, my experience, you know, actually getting engaged. I think one of the things that if we're going to be a city that's going to come really back and roaring and expanding and growing, we have to support the people who live in the city of Cleveland, and we have to lay the foundation to support our businesses and our communities. And I'm just absolutely appreciative of this presentation and thankful for the work that the Urban League is doing here. And Director, keep up the great job. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any reservations or concerns about this. I do have just a couple of questions, though, about the mechanics of the ordinance, and it's for the director. So through the chair to the director, this is coming out of Fund 17 SF 652, which I believe is also our lending fund. Through the chair to the director, this ordinance is not for a loan. This is for operating support, but we don't expect this money to come back to the city.
Through the chair to Councilman, that is correct.
Okay. Through the chair then to the director, what is the current account balance of 17 SF 652? How much of it is on loan, and how much are we expecting to come back to that? Because this is where we do our lending in return, right?
Yes. Through the chair to the Councilman, that fund has approximately $10.5 million in it. At the moment, I believe the return rate, if I understand correctly, and again, these are based on conversations I've had with our fiscal manager, we are recouping about $450,000 a year in that revolving loan pool. You know, again, I know that you all know this. You know, we do, and you do allocate, as a city council generously allocates $3 million annually back into that pool, right, through general obligation bonds that kind of continue to grow, which I believe just hit. And then through these 8 organizations that we support that do economic development work, about $1.8 million in operating grants. So not lost on us, right? It is a balance between making sure that we have funds available to invest in businesses and projects throughout the community that can come back into, and also finding projects and organizations that we can support to help us do the work, right? But this is a conversation we've been having that was kind of presented to me when I first got here, knowing and understanding better all of these different organizations, how we support them, what's worthwhile with it, and that's an ongoing process, as they know, right? We've been kind of having this conversation for some time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Chair, this is one of those funds that is sort of like was a big mystery question mark from my head for a while, and I didn't quite understand how this fund worked or how it was spent by the city. So I'm just curious. I'd like to try to understand this a little bit better. So if possible, through the chair to the director and Mr. Titron, if we can get just the spreadsheet breakdown of where those monies are and what's out and what's coming back or what's expected. And I'd just like to wrap my head around it a little bit better. My only question for our friends here today is, through the chair, I'm curious about the number of unique clients you serve. Like, I have a friend who's like started 5 companies. Like, he's like Mr. Entrepreneur. Like, he's got a new company idea, and he's just that kind of guy, right? And I'm curious, through the chair, how many of your how many of your businesses that you've helped start up are, one person's got 2, one person's got 3? Is it normal that most people have one, or do you have some people that are just like, they've got a bajillion ideas and they're out there starting up multiple companies? Or what's the difference, I guess, between your businesses supported and unique client?
Mr. Obi?
Yeah, I don't have that exact number, but it's not unusual for entrepreneurs to experiment and see which ones stick, right? But that's part of what we do, is to help them focus. So they could be great in one business and scale it before they jump into the next one. That's the big challenge that we have with entrepreneurs, of being busy with different ideas but never really perfected one. So I don't know the exact statistic, but it's very typical. But research have shown that for you to, they hear stories about people having 5 businesses, and that became more like a fantasy to a lot of people, but they don't know the journey it took to get to 5 successfully. So that's what part of our technical assistance is, to have them focus on one, scale it, put a system in place, so that when you step out to the next one, the business continue to make money. So that's a good question. We have to look into to see exact statistics of that.
I'd be curious, because I know that it's often heard, and we repeat it a lot, that like 90% of all businesses fail within their first year. And that's just because it's hard to introduce new businesses out into the environment. It's kind of to be expected. I think it's also, on the flip side of that, true that most successful business owners failed a couple times in the process of finding one that works. So it's not an indictment, obviously, but it's a curiosity of mine about there are people that are just like head first into starting new businesses, and God bless them. But I was just curious. So if we can find, I'd be curious to know something.
But there is data that SBA have done, because SBA, of course, funds our SBDC, that failure rate of 90% is more like 30% those that use the kind of technical assistance services that we have. Those that come through SBDC use this assistance, like some of members in our ecosystem, Jumpstart, ECDI, those that use that kind of service, they are less likely to go out of business, because they start the business the right way.
That's very supportive, helpful evidence for your success. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and good luck to you all. I hope we get some great businesses out of this.
All right, thank you. Councilman Harsh, Councilwoman House Jones.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to the team here, good morning. I have a question just about in this environment that we are in, are there particular job industries that you are noticing that have maybe a higher potential success rate or trajectory compared to others in this climate, this financial climate that we are in?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I don't think we have any silver bullet or which industry has better success rate. But one thing that we're trying to solve, which is not part of this presentation, is how do we get Black and brown entrepreneurs into high growth sectors? A lot of the businesses that we have in our community are concentrated in low growth sectors, like food, construction, those low-cost entry businesses. So through our UBIZ Venture Capital, we are forming an equity fund to start attracting, through joint venture, businesses in emerging industries that are high growth. For example, electric vehicle supply chain, which is an emerging industry that we are not participating like we should. So we want to start early versus after the industry have taken off, and then we are late to the game. So that's what we're focusing on, high growth in healthcare. So how could we put equity investment in entrepreneurs of color so that they can participate in those high growth sectors?
And thank you, through the chair to the team. Thank you for pointing that out. And that's one of the things, as I am in this world, one of the things that I've been learning is that the opportunity of, as you talk about how high growth, business opportunities, there's a lot in the business to business market versus the business to consumers. And so, it is good to hear that, the Urban League, UBiz, are really focused on trying to help entrepreneurs understand the, complete ecosystem in the business environment and to open up doorways and ideas of things that people just don't know about because they don't have the access or connection to it. So thank you much.
Thank you, Councilwoman House Jones. All right, seeing no further questions for Urban League and UBiz. Listen, just again, thank you for all the work that you do for us in our community. This council, we have to make tough decisions on what we fund, what we don't fund, and, you made it here today because obviously we believe in you all. We are the legislative arm of this building, and, it is up to us to ultimately, recognize the good things that are happening and find ways to support organizations. And, with our partnership with Economic Development Department, Tom McNair and his staff, this is one that we absolutely thought that we needed to make sure that we brought here today to provide support. Our President Griffin, he's always pushing all of us to find ways to support those who are truly doing, the work that that needs to be done in our community. And you two are two of the individuals running two organizations who are doing the work that absolutely need to be done in our neighborhood. So we thank you for your work.
Thank
all
you,
right?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 398-2024 stands approved. Here you go. All right, ordinance number 401-2024 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Jumpstart Incorporated or its designee to assist with costs. Got it. Or its designee to assist with costs related to providing technical and financial assistance to Cleveland businesses. All right, good morning. We have our very own Telly-Ann Thomas.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, Director. And again, the presentation is on your tablet, and we're celebrating another organization who is, 20 years, 20th anniversary?
20 years old this year.
20 years old, who's also doing equally good work in our community. All right. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Joined here today by Telly-Ann Thomas, Chief Operating and Relationship Officer for Jumpstart, and Lauren Novick, Chief Services Officer. I do want to say here before I hand it over to our folks at Jumpstart, along the lines of Councilman Harsh's question sitting there, we are spending a lot of time looking at this ecosystem and the operating support that we provide to organizations like this. If this system is working well, right? I noted by the amount of dollars that we have to lend, and at the end of the day, the Department of Economic Development is in essence a civic lending institution, right? But if we are investing in the right organizations, what we're actually doing is expanding the capabilities of that, because organizations, like Urban League, like Jumpstart, also have funds that they can invest in and lend to small businesses within our communities. And actually, a big part of what we're doing, and again, thank you for your generosity in investing in some new staff that we are in the process of hiring, and the neighborhood investment managers, which are really going to be folks that are going to be out developing relationships in our communities, in your communities, with CDCs, helping to ensure that we are marketing programs like this and bringing that pipeline of small businesses in, so it's not always on the burden on the city of Cleveland to make these sorts of loans and investments in our small business community. So with that, I want to hand it over to Ms. Thomas, who can walk through a little bit of a presentation similarly on what Jumpstart has been up to in the past year and kind of plans moving forward.
All right, Ms. Thomas.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much. So again, to the chair and council president and to the committee, thank you for having us this morning and for the opportunity to share with you about our ongoing work in service to small businesses and entrepreneurship here in the city of Cleveland. I want to also send our appreciation to Director McNair and Ifioma, who've been wonderful partners through the department, and also echo the sentiment on the recent investment being made in that department. We recognize that our ability to drive impact really is predicated on our ability to have sound partnerships. And the city of Cleveland has been a phenomenal partner to us, and we are excited about what is happening and hopeful about where we are collectively going. So this morning, Lauren and I are just going to take a few minutes to walk you through a level set around Jumpstart Today, how we've been able to leverage vital resources via the Department of Economic Development to benefit and impact businesses here in the city of Cleveland, and share with you a little bit of highlight around what we are seeing this year, and also anchor you in the data that shows the outcomes and the metrics. And again, happy to entertain any questions that you may have. So most of you all are very familiar with Jumpstart, as Council Chairman Harrison acknowledged. We have turned 20 years old this year. That is no small feat for an organization such as Jumpstart, which has historically combined venture investing activity along with small business economic development services to be able to help lift cities, neighborhoods, and the local economy. And we really try to do that work anchored in a value-based system around collaboration. So as I said, partnership with the city of Cleveland and others like UBiz and Urban League, who you just heard from, has really been vital to the impact and the success that we have been able to achieve. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we set out to help entrepreneurs grow, researchers commercialize, and corporations innovate. The way that we do that is through an integrated model that brings together capital, and we'll speak a little bit to what that work has looked like. Services, which is explicitly what we're here to talk to you about today on behalf of small businesses, as well as connections. And connections really refer to the informal and formal soft skills and access into social capital networks, et cetera, that entrepreneurs need in order to be able to gain traction into marketplaces, to receive subject matter expertise, whether that's in marketing, finance, et cetera, to really be able to achieve those critical milestones that help their businesses grow and for them to become sustainable. So while we're here to talk about small business today, I also want to acknowledge that we do support tech startups as well as work with local corporations to help them spin up innovation within their own walls that can be beneficial to not only their business but to the region and also our research institutions. So this slide really just shows you a culminating milestone around the collective of this work. So between 2010 and 2020, Jumpstart, in cooperation with partners, have been able to achieve just a little bit over $9 billion in economic impact. So that is reflective of the economic output of both our tech startup companies and our small businesses that receive support through Jumpstart. You'll see here just highlighting a couple of points. We do disaggregate our data. We are very interested in understanding how we are serving and supporting diverse entrepreneurs. So we track that for female, women-owned businesses, minority businesses, particularly for the Hispanic, Latino, and Black-led businesses. We also look at revenue generated by those small businesses. So what kind of wages are they bringing into the local communities, as well as how they are contributing to the tax base, right? Because those dollars then get recirculated through opportunities like this for us to continue to grow and scale our economy. We produce an annual economic impact report. We will be releasing the public report next month for the findings from last year. A couple of things just to highlight, but I promised my marketing manager I would not get ahead of the headline. But to ground you, last year, reflecting 2022, because the data is always about 5 to 6 months behind. So in 2022, it was $1.3 billion just for the year of 2022. What we will release next month will show you what was achieved in 2023. The good news is it is more than 1.3. I can't tell you what it is, but I think you will be encouraged by the numbers and that we are continuing to show strong growth and strong progress in this regard. So with that, the other thing I wanted to acknowledge too is that capital, again, as you have heard in the previous conversations with UBIZ, and as well as what we have talked about in terms of our model of combining capital, connections, and services is very critical for growth and sustainability of these businesses. Jumpstart has been able to identify and create a unique risk-friendly capital pool that we are able to make available to our businesses. Lauren will get into the finer details, but what I want to share with you is that overall, we've given out about $1.4 million in that regard, but that does not include, and that's since 2010, and that does not include the $750,000 that we have committed to Centrovia 25 to support investment on the Near West Side and further support and scale entrepreneurship. We've also given $1 million to UBIZ to support their lending through the program that you just heard about. And we've also given $250,000 to HFLA for similar services to support economic opportunity. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lauren. Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
And morning to the chair and the committee. And before I even begin, thank you for your continued support of our small business activities since 2018. It's been a huge partnership for us and allowed us to evolve what we provide and enhance what we provide on an annual basis. Obviously, we're here today seeking the amount of $443,000 in funding to continue significant support of our small business services that we provide. In 2024, we're committing to metrics that are very similar to what we committed to in 2023. But what I'd like to emphasize about the metrics that we commit to is that we focus heavily on this partnership being a commitment to provide intensive assistance metrics. Our metrics that we commit to are not metrics about, just clients showing up, working with them for, half an hour, or clients showing up at events or anything ancillary to that. The metrics that we commit to with the city is to spend significant time with the clients, either one-on-one or in our really intensive multi-week, one to few cohorts. In 2024, again, similar to 2023, we commit to provide at least 5 hours of technical assistance to a minimum of 80 small businesses located in the city. We commit to engage a minimum of 40 Latino Hispanic entrepreneurs located in the city. We commit to execute our highest profile small business program called the Impact Program, which is a program for 12 weeks that focuses on driving towards growth and capital. Our small business capital effort is spearheaded as a continuation of that Impact Program once they graduate. And specifically in 2024, we're going to launch a new program called our Impact Plus program, which is going to be a program that combines everything that Teleange was referring to, which is we are going to launch a program that helps to tech enable the small businesses we work with, helping those businesses become more tech-centric. We will continue doing these multi-week workshops called deep dives, where we focus on one topic specifically for an extended period of time. And we will continue doing what we've done on the small business capital side, which is we will deploy at least $250,000 in small business capital to City of Cleveland small businesses. Teleange mentioned that since 2016, we've deployed $3.6 million of small business capital, $1.46 million of which is to City of Cleveland businesses. Since 2020, when we launched the loan program, 2016 was a grant program, and then in 2020 we added on a loan program, roughly 85% of the capital I just mentioned, that $1.46 million, has been deployed since 2020 to the businesses via loans. So if we're looking at our track record and impact, this speaks to Jumpstart, I believe, since the beginning of our small business work. Although Jumpstart is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, as Teleange alluded to, we've only been helping small businesses since 2016. And that was an intentional effort in 2016 to complement the other organizations that were supporting small businesses in the ecosystem and support maybe a little bit further along at the growth and access to capital phase. So as you look here, you can see how our deal flow, our client base has grown over the years. And if you look at 2024, we're well on our way to, especially with not even half a year yet, we're well on our way to continuing that growth trajectory in the current year. So that's the total number of businesses, small businesses that have engaged with us, with time spent with them since 2016. You can see the heat map as it relates to the various wards. I know in the past we've provided specific information about businesses that are located in particular years in specific wards. We obviously have that information if we would need to provide that separately, but we wanted to give you a perspective on how that heat map looks with the total number of companies engaged since the inception of our small business work. Now, when we look at 2023, what I'd like to emphasize is that, again, in 2023, we committed to a similar metric to what we're committing to in 2024, which is to engage a minimum of 80 entrepreneurs and provide them 5+ hours of technical assistance. So in 2023, I think if we go to the next slide, it's a little clearer. We engaged with 221 small businesses. That's a minimum amount of time. That's meeting with them at least, for a minimum amount of time. But out of that 221, 109 of those clients spent at least 5 hours with us. What's that? Oh, and this just shows, again, the breakout of the month by month. I think, it shows the breakout of the female-owned businesses and the minority-owned businesses. Out of those 109 companies, though, that spent 5+ hours with us, 43% were Black-owned, 34% were Latino Hispanic-owned, and 77% were women. Looking at 2024, again, I think we've obviously continued doing the work. We're continuing to expand what we do. We continue to evolve ways that we can provide capital, create new programming, and as we can look at here through, obviously where we are in the month of April, we have already engaged, 117 clients, which is more than halfway to what we did last year.
Okay. All right. We hope this technology works. We have an embedded video. Our marketing team has created a podcast called Small Businesses, Big Conversations, and it's been an incredible way for us to highlight and give an elevated platform for all of our emergent small businesses throughout the city, the county, and the region. And so this is a quick, I think, 1 minute that just gives you a little bit of insight of some of the small businesses that we're working with. And I'm hoping, I don't know how to click it. Is there?
Carrie, how do we?
To play the video?
To you.
It won't play it? Okay. Well, we will send you the link, but it's an incredible video. I don't know, Lauren, if maybe you want to share a little bit about Low Key, who's one of our great clients.
I think on a number of levels, Dayron Henderson represents the type of entrepreneur that we look to work with and we look to support. Dayron met us, spent some time with us one-on-one, and then participated in the Impact Program, where he ended up being the winner of the $10,000 grant that was received at the end of the Impact Program. I'm sure a number of you know that right at the outset of COVID, Dayron lost both his parents. So I think our work with our clients is reflective of not only providing them with capital, not only providing them with services, but providing them with a bit of a support system anytime they're struggling personally or professionally. And, now Dayron is a partner of ours, more as a vendor than as a small business service recipient. But again, the evolution of our relationship and our support of Dayron is very representative of the type of relationships that we look to build with our clients and support them in a number of ways.
He does great weddings.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So with that, in conclusion, again, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you, the work that we continue to do here in the city of Cleveland. We do appreciate and acknowledge that a number of requests come before you and through the Department of Economic Development. It is our goal and our commitment to continue to leverage and optimize these resources, bringing our resources to bear as well to deepen the impact here in the city of Cleveland. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Again, thank you for the very detailed presentation. Just for those who are watching and just members, they provided slides kind of show the number of businesses they supported in each ward across the city. So I thank you for providing that. As you say, you do some great work in our city as well. You help a wide range of businesses. I think between you all, ECDI and UBIZ, I don't think you can ask for anyone greater, with helping our community and supporting. So we thank you for your work. We'll go to the committee for questions. Any questions for the committee? Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at this presentation here, and the numbers are very powerful at the very beginning of the presentation of the economic impact, where it talks about $9.1 billion. If we're looking at this, and I know this is between a space of 2010 and 2020, can we get more of a measurable breakdown of what that looks like? Is that, when we look at this number here, we know that Jumpstart's geographical territory is how large? Can you explain your territory?
To the chair, to the councilman through the chair, absolutely. So we do track and measure our data geographically. Jumpstart is responsible for a service area as it relates to our tech-related services that covers northern Ohio. So that's upward of 44 counties that basically stretches from Columbus, Franklin County, all the way to the top of the state. When it comes to small business, we have had concentration in Northeast Ohio, with the majority of our work and efforts being in Cleveland/Cuyahoga County, but we also have provided services and been co-located, in the city of Toledo as well. So what we can do and what we will do, Councilman, is provide you the breakdown of the detail of what the data set looks like for City of Cleveland. If you want it for this time period, we can extract that out and give you the granular detail for small business explicitly and or with the tech services, whichever your preference is.
Well, I think that, first of all, thank you, because you're looking at targeting our market space, and it's the reason why we're sitting here at the table. So it would have been really nice to have seen that information, that particular information on what you have been able to accomplish in this territory. And years past, Mr. Chairman, to Jumpstart, minority businesses have, been just given a runaround. And so you have all of these programs, Mr. Chairman, to Jumpstart, whereas, like you say, we just touched you, and that was it. And going through these programs are disheartening when you are a small minority business and you're putting your sweat equity in to make your business work, and you have these programs and you get into these programs and you start to making investments, or you have companies or organizations that say, hey, if you get to this point here, we'll let you have a contract. And then when you get to that point, then the bar moves. And so if you have the data to show what your impact, like the last presentation, you won't hardly hear me really say something so sweet as I said to the other organization, and I've been rough with them in the years past in terms of them really getting nitty-gritty and getting granular with the issue. And the situation is really one of dire situation. The African American community in the United States of America, especially urban cores and minority cores, we don't have the finance, and you may have heard that said here this morning, the financial institutions are not paying into our neighborhood. They're not investing into our communities. We can't grow as a neighborhood if we don't have the water to be able to survive on. And in this capitalistic society, Mr. Chairman, to jumpstart, if you don't have the water, you die. And so when you look at urban communities and urban neighborhoods, when I listen to law enforcement throughout the state of Ohio, I always hear something always constant from them. They say you need to invest more into these neighborhoods, into these bad communities. They have no investments. Look at their homes in their communities. Look at their poor performance in their educational systems. Look at their roads and their infrastructure. When you start looking at the minority neighborhood in the city of Cleveland, when you look on the east side, it looks like someone dropped a bomb over there. And they dropped a big bomb. All you have is all of these vacant lots. So there was two different policies. One policy was to build up neighborhoods and not tear down homes. And the other policy on the east side was just knock them down. Just let's see how many of these homes we can knock down. And somehow the leadership of that time bought into it at the table. Our neighborhood said, we don't want you coming over here into our neighborhood just wiping and demolishing all these homes. We know as developers and contractors who do business, and I'm going to get back to the subject matter, that the homes and the properties that we have in our neighborhoods are more developed and built and stronger than the new developments and the materials that's being used today and new construction. And so if you have a home that has been built in yesterdays, 20, 30, 40 years ago, those homes are more solid, have more fundamental foundation than some of the new construction that even we've had here sitting at the table. And so I'll say all that to simply say we need to invest into our communities. It would be nice to see what really Jumpstart has done in the minority neighborhood. I'm not so much sure what you've done. I saw your boards, but I don't feel your impact. I don't see you in my neighborhood. I don't see you engaged. And I'd like to see more of that. And just like I talked to Urban League when they started talking about development and how we're going to get more people jobs and workforce development, I was really tough with them here at this table. And I was tough with them for the purpose of that I'm out here in the street. I see what's happening, I see what's not happening. And so I would like to know more about, as when you look at the slides, I don't know if you have the slide, that the previous piece talked about. It talked about the new businesses it created. It went in and talked about how many jobs from those new businesses were created. It talked about the economic development impact in the area of what that meant. It talked about the loans that was given to those businesses. It even talked about the breakdown of the equity of investments there. So when you start getting into detailed information, and you didn't hear me ask them a whole lot of questions, because they gave in-depth detail. And the gentleman who was talking, Mr. Obie, was really top-notch banker. And it's really good to see that we have a program that we can fundamentally touch, and we can see that it has some real substance to it. So when you throw these figures out to me about $9.1 billion plus, it's impressive. But it doesn't tell me what you're doing in my neighborhood.
That's right.
It doesn't tell me what you're doing here in the city of Cleveland. Now, you're before us and you're asking for 400-some thousand plus. And I don't really know what that, even though I've seen the program, and this is the reason why I told you that, you know, touching someone and doing something is one thing, but taking them through a process. Identifying that they are a good client, or they could be a good client to be into the program. And then if they're not a good client, what they need to do to get to that point. And then when you're in there, how do you help them with staying focused on that one business until, as you heard Obie talk about, well, we know the entrepreneurs are trying to do a whole lot of other things. When I heard him speak, I could feel his discussions with those businesses as he sat here at this table, you know, and how they did that. So I just want to open it up to you, and if you had any comments on that.
Absolutely.
Thomas?
To the councilman through the chair, thank you so much for your comments, for your transparency. A couple of things that I'll say in response to what you have shared. First and foremost, we do have the data, and so I do apologize that we did not provide that in the presentation today, but we will follow up. We are very metric-centric. Our credibility is predicated on our ability to have good data. We have been in that relationship and had that commitment with the state for the past 20 years, and we have pushed that down and through our relationships with all of our other funding sources, so I will make sure that you have that. Secondly, as it relates to your response about what it looks like for your ward, I can appreciate, first and foremost, that our work is present, but we will never claim that we have arrived. It's a continuous process in terms of how we show up, partner, and engage with communities. Over the last 3 years, we were particularly challenged by this council and by economic development to go deeper and provide more support for the Hispanic and the Latino community. We have made good on those commitments while also continue to sustain our support and impact in the African American community. We understand that the work is never ending and that it doesn't matter unless I know what it means for me. So we have been able to touch every single ward in Cleveland. We have representation of businesses that have received services, and I'll let Lauren share with you a little bit more about what that means. This is not a passive transactional relationship. We know intimately our clients who have become our friends, our partners. We are invested in their success as entrepreneurs, and not just in the sense of saying, I founded this, but seeing themselves as follow up with the data so that you can see it granularly, and then I will give it to Lauren to share with you explicitly.
Before you give it
Sure.
to Mr. Warren to talk about my neighborhood, because you hit on something here that certainly I want to expand off of. In terms of being able to get the data and the information, because I certainly don't want you to be passive in the neighborhoods neither. When it comes to the minority businesses, and I'm particularly talking about all of Cleveland in general, it is so significant and important for people like me sitting here at this table to really see Cleveland come back. Cleveland cannot come back unless it has full throttled support. And in my neighborhood, I know that we are working and would be good for organizations like the previous organization that was here at the table and yours, Urban League and your organization, to work with the elected officials in their territories. We are feverishly trying to improve our storefront renovation programs in our neighborhoods, work with entrepreneurs in terms of white boxing. We have Neighborhood Progress, Inc. that we're trying, that is out there trying to do work for the southeast side of the city of Cleveland. So when we talk about giving you the $400 and some thousand, which I'm lukewarm on, because I don't really fundamentally know what you're really doing. So I would like to really, just like I told Urban League, really want to feel your program, really want to get in there and take the jacket off and get some skin into the game so I can really understand this, because sitting here at this table now, you may not have other council members that might not, and we do have some that will go straight to you, but I want to really see if this program really works. And then how it works in our area. How many jobs are we creating? How many minority businesses are we creating? And what is that investment? So you're going to get all that, what you have done already, and within the 3-year period or 4-year period. I'm not asking you to go all the way back to 2016, but to try to understand where you are in a snapshot here. And then for me, how does that $400-some thousand grow that number?
To the councilman through the chair. So again, to your question, a few things. The $443,000 is a portion of the total cost of what it takes for us to provide small business services to small businesses in the city of Cleveland. We also raise funding from other public sources. We contribute our own assets off of our balance sheet, and we work with local philanthropy as well to resource the program. So the city of Cleveland is not subsidizing the entire program, but definitely benefits the most from our directed services and engagement in City of Cleveland neighborhoods. What services look like, and again, I'll let Lauren expand, but what the $443,000 goes to are the actual programs. It is the curricula, it is the workshops, it is the accelerators. So we talked about the impact program. Lauren will embellish on that a little bit more. But at the end of the day, when you are talking about working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, again, it is not transactional. We are not pushing paper with these individuals. We are going into the depths of their financials. We are helping them establish marketing and business plans. We are helping them think about how to grow their customer base. We are helping them optimize their products if they have a product line. We are bringing in entrepreneurs who have successfully done the work to partner with them, coach them, mentor them. We are making the soft introductions. We are helping them raise additional capital to grow their businesses in addition to accessing ours.
So you have like people who handle those businesses, like we would say handlers or specialists?
We would call them our small business advisors, correctly? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'll turn the mic over to Lauren to explain a little bit more.
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman. I think one thing it's important to emphasize, and I never want to just focus on one client because that could be manipulated, where I'm focusing on Dayron Henderson and there's not many other Dayron Hendersons. But the reality is that when we do our work, building out the continuum of services, so it's not just one program, it's multiple programs. It's not just multiple programs, it's multiple programs in capital. It's not just working with a client for 6 months, it's working with a client for a period of years. That's the intentionality that I think we've always been challenged with in the conversations we've had with the city previously, to where we are very, very intentional in working with our clients for extended periods of time, which is what has significantly led to us continuing that trajectory of work by deploying small business capital directly to them. I think when, again, you referenced the prior presentation, I think the amount of capital that we've deployed, the $1.46 million, is greater than the prior presentation, and we don't ask for that from funders. We take that $1.46 million off of our balance sheet, meaning we have our own money invested in the community as well in significant dollars. So we are not only partners with funders like yourself, but we are invested financially, invested emotionally, and I mean, I can confidently say there are dozens and dozens and dozens of Dayron Hendersons who would be obviously more than happy to advocate on our behalf, and that is the relationship that I feel, meaning the last time that we hired Dayron, using him as the example, to be the DJ at one of our events, he went on autopilot, he pulled me aside, and he looked at me and he said, there is no other organization that has cared about clients like Jumpstart has. And whether that's Dayron Henderson or James Barnes or Tawana Williams or Ocean, I mean, there are countless other businesses that will advocate on the fact that they feel us. And that, to me, reflects the type of program that we desire to implement and execute on, that the ones that feel us the most are obviously our clients, and that isn't just for a short period of time. There's an extended relationship that we take very seriously.
Mr. Chairman, you talked about your own personal or the investments of the organization. So just open me up to a whole different line of questioning. How big is Jumpstart? What is this annual? How do you make investments? Is this a quasi nonprofit? Is it a long? What are we looking at here?
Absolutely. To the councilman through the chair, Jumpstart absolutely is a nonprofit. We are 501c3. As I said, our model consisted of combining both venture investing activity with traditional economic development services. We right now are currently about a $20 million operation. We employ just over 70 full-time employees. We also have a suite of what we call entrepreneurs in resident that are on contract with us that work intensively to support the services arm of our work, particularly on the tech side. We have a separate venture entity known as Jumpstart Ventures, and there was a communication in the Cranes newspaper about 3 weeks ago now that explained a little bit more about that partnership and relationship. So we are unique in that we do have investment funds that allow us to invest in early stage very early stage. So this is pre-seed, meaning like they are a great idea. There's a strong market valuation, but maybe they have no customers. They have not, generated a product yet. So very, 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 very early stage tech companies, particularly in the health and life sciences dimensions. We have a fund that is committed also to investing in minority and women-owned tech companies as well. All of that investment activity is managed under Jumpstart Enterprises. We are an investor in those funds. The state of Ohio is an investor in those funds, along with a number of private and other public entities. The beauty of that is that when those companies do well and those returns come back to Jumpstart the nonprofit is then able to make capital available for small businesses through the impact program. We are able to support other partnerships in the city of Cleveland, like Centrovia, et cetera, and we are also able to offset some of our annual operating costs.
Mr. Chairman, this is, I'm going to yield the floor. This is more than meets the eye here that we're looking at. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, would like to also go on the journey with you to be able to understand who you really are. Because there is so much here that you're doing that is quite impressive, and it seems detail-oriented. Talking about you have set aside a fund for minority development tech companies. I want to know about all of that. Would love to understand how your funding formula works. It sounds like you have the Jumpstart nonprofit side, and it seems like you have a number of subsidiaries. Would that be correct in my analysis of your statements?
To the councilman through the chair, we have a subsidiary, correct?
So you have one subsidiary, not
Correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd love to sit down and really go through it with you and maybe shadow some things. I don't have a whole lot of time. But I do have some time to throw at this and really kind of get a better understanding. But Mr. Chairman, I don't have any readiness here. I think that this is important that Jumpstart really, and maybe even, Mr. Chairman, if you're open to tuning up to how you do what you do in the city of Cleveland so you can have better results. But I wouldn't know that until I've had the opportunity to really shadow you and see how you fundamentally work. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Absolutely. So let's make sure we get Councilman Jones engaged with you all so he can really dig deep on kind of what you all do and how you do it, and then bring that back to the committee. All right? And before our Finance Committee next week, you will provide that information requested to Mr. Titron and Director McNair.
Absolutely.
So that way we can have that for our Finance meeting next
Absolutely.
Monday. All right? Thank you. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 401-2024 stands approved. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so very much. Have a great day.
You too. All right, last but not least, ordinance number 261-2024, emergency ordinance designating the Jesse Owens House as a Cleveland landmark. Come on up. Brother Carl Brunges is going to present to us all of the great sunglasses.
Glasses, anybody? Glasses?
Talianch, are those your glasses?
No, sir, they are not.
Okay. Just give it to the clerk there, Carl. Thank you. Yes.
Not it. I need these. Or I don't if I want to read.
Be so soon. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Carl Brunges, Cleveland Landmark staff. That's you. Cleveland Landmark staff would like to thank Margaret Land of the Cleveland Restoration Society for her work during this process in coordinating with the owner, John Cummings, about this designation. We have been working on this for a while, and the owner has given written consent for the designation.
All right.
This was constructed in 1897 to 1898. 2178 East 100th Street was built as a multifamily home with American foursquare layout and colonial revival features. Permit records show the building was converted from a two-family to a three-family in 1947 and from three-family to four-family in 1954. The certificate of occupancy in January 1963 shows 4 suites, which is consistent with the use today. The house at 2178 East 100th Street is significant because of its association with Olympic athlete Jesse Owens. The Owens family moved to Cleveland from Oakville, Alabama in 1922. Jesse was the youngest of 10 children. The family rented a number of homes in the central neighborhood after their arrival. During these years, Jesse attended Fairmount Junior High and East Technical High School, where his athletic talent was becoming apparent. As a high school senior in 1933, Owens set the world record for the 220-yard dash at the National Championship in Chicago. In 1934, the family rented 2178 East 100th Street, which becomes Jesse's home during the most important years of his athletic career. Here you can see the family pictured on the steps of the house. In May 1935, Owens gained international recognition for setting 3 world records at the Big Ten Championship meet in Ann Arbor, Michigan. These events made Owens a favorite for the 1936 Olympics. That same month, Owens had a personal milestone when he married his longtime girlfriend, Minnie Solomon. The ceremony was performed by Reverend Ernest Hall of East Mount Zion Baptist Church inside the home of Miss Solomon at 9118 Beckman Avenue. Jesse and Minnie had welcomed their first daughter 2 years earlier in 1933. After the couple married, they appear to have resided in both 2178 East 100th and 9118 Beckman. Marriage license shows both addresses. Newspaper articles indicate that prior to the 1936 Summer Olympics, Jesse and Minnie Ruth were living at 2178 East 100th. Later articles state while Jesse was traveling, Minnie Ruth and their young daughter had moved back into her family home with her mother at 9118 Beckman. This building was a 2-family residence that was demolished prior to 2004. The couple made the Beckman home their permanent residence later in 1936 after Jesse returned from Berlin. In the summer of 1936, Jesse Owens traveled to Berlin, Germany to compete in the Summer Olympics. Owens won 4 gold medals during the games, cementing him as one of the greatest athletes of all time. It was also an important moment in history as these wins by a black athlete were a direct contradiction to Hitler's racist propaganda. While Jesse was competing in Germany, the family remained at their home on East 100th Street. And when Owens returned to Cleveland a champion, he was greeted by parades and fanfare. But when it came time for him to find work, he was met with prejudice and racism. Since 1933, whenever Owens was not at school or competing, he worked for businessman Alonzo Wright at his Ohio gas station located at East 93rd and Cedar, part of which remains standing today. Owens remained in Cleveland for a while after his Olympic wins, hoping to find more lucrative work, but nothing was successful, which led him and Minnie to move with their daughter first to Detroit and then later to Chicago. This designation has been on our radar for many years, and we are excited for it to come to fruition. A great many people want to see this honor bestowed upon the House. We don't designate these properties only for our current citizens, but for the next generations as well. Jesse Owens' story will continue to inspire the future, as evidenced by the group of letters that we sent around from the Hawkins School from a 9th grade class that we received back in 2018 that was asking for the designation. The story of James Cleveland and Jesse Owens is an important one to tell. It is filled with both challenges and triumphs. This house stands as a tangible reminder of his legacy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brother Carl. Wow, just to see the photos from back during that time and, you know, at the house and to see it standing still today, it's amazing, amazing. All right, thank you for the presentation. We'll open up to committee for questions. Council President Blaine Griffin.
Thank you, first of all. And I really encourage everybody to support this. Many activists for many years have been trying to get this designation for this house, and quite frankly, I was a little reluctant Reason I was a little reluctant is because the gentleman that owns it, I know him very well, Mr. Cummings. I wanted to make sure that he had the support from the restoration community.
Yes.
Because when you do these type of designations, it's always going to be encouraged that you put a significant amount of restoration dollars into this site. So when he had a community of people from the Cleveland Restoration Society and others that really came in and, offered support for him, even though he's the landlord and there are tenants living there, I was able to support it. It's directly located in a part of the area where you know that the Cleveland Clinic is growing, so it's a clash of the old and the new taking shape before our eyes. And I thought it was important for us to really try to make sure that we kept one of these vestiges of Fairfax. Because a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of famous people from the Black experience and others come from the Fairfax community, like the Witch and the Wizard of Oz, and the Langston Hughes and Terrence Howard most recently, as well as Vanessa Bell Calloway. So to really try to make sure that we add these kind of locations as historical landmarks in Cleveland that shows Black excellence and what we were able to accomplish and how we were able to impact the world, I think is very important. I will tell everybody a funny story. I've done a little background, and some of the guys that actually, remember how he got his name. And a lot of people don't know this, and when you said his full name, that people call him Jesse, but the reason they called him JC is because they did not know what JC meant, so they just called him Jesse. So, when you hear old stories from the neighborhood from people who are passed away now that grew up in Fairfax and either knew his family and knew the history, you see why these kind of memorials are so important. Now, we're building the neighborhood, we're bringing in new, and I always tell everybody my dream is so that at Myers Supermarket I could stand in line one day and the older folks and the legacy residents are sitting there having a conversation with some of the newer residents, whether it's a nurse, a phlebotomist, or environmental tech, and really just having a conversation about how vibrant the community is and how nice the houses are and how they get to walk to work, and the older person and the legacy resident basically says, yes, just like it used to. So we're really trying to go back to the future in Fairfax, and this helps us do that. So I really encourage my colleagues to support this. I think it's one of those things that is just a good feel for the city of Cleveland. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, it's something to see such a great historic figure here, and, I support this wholeheartedly. But to know that he was here in the city of Cleveland, and I appreciate the presentation that was made, but he couldn't make it here in the city of Cleveland, like so many other minorities that are great that came from this city because of the sheer racism. And the city of Cleveland, at one point, I'm not sure where we stand at on this measure, was one of the most segregated cities in the United States of America. One of the most segregated cities, and that goes as far as 1995. And to see that we've had so much talent, so much rich talent, and that they can't even make it here in their own home, that they have to move to somewhere else like Chicago or somewhere else that would be a little bit more open to minorities who have an idea, who have a mind, who have a talent, who would like to only do one thing: experience the American dream, experience this thing called humanity. And to not be able to do it in your own background is disheartening. I support this piece here, and we should have a placard or something like that, that when people come by this property, that they know that Jesse Owens lived here at this location. And I don't know if that's what you would do when you make this a designation.
Mr. Brunson.
Through the chair to the councilman, we have a small plaque that can be made at the request of the owner or of the councilman, but the Ohio History Connection has those larger Ohio history markers. That is not done through us. That's done through the state, and they do a few. You'll see them all over the place. There's one out here for the Burnham Mall and stuff like that. That might be a more appropriate style one for this house. Yes.
So, no further questions, Mr. Chairman. Good job. Thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Any other thoughts? All right. The committee obviously fully supports this piece. You know, we were glad that you could make it today to present this information. Had no idea that he struggled the way he did after winning 4 gold medals in a place that he was not welcomed in the first place, overseas. And to come back home to Cleveland and could not, you know, succeed. Okay. So could not succeed is just disheartening. I mean, it's sad. So thank you. Councilwoman House-Jones.
Yes, so thank you, Chair, and thank you to Landmarks that are here. And I do appreciate taking the time to have this conversation, because a lot of times, you know, as things are evolving, sometimes our history is truly being lost. And so for us to actually take the time to make sure that we are properly memorializing things, because boy, this AI is doing something to us for real, in a very real way. And so to the chairman, I appreciate you taking a moment to pause, to allow us to have this dialogue so that it can be memorialized and so that people will actually know our true story here in Cleveland, Ohio. So thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, to the councilwoman, it's important, and it's something that we struggle with, to find these stories. Like, this house looks like any other house in the neighborhood. And usually our history hides in plain sight. Cultural history, like the Bodie recording studio, which we saw a few months ago. Same thing, it looked just ordinary. We need to know these stories so we can memorialize it, because we need to be able, history is usually told from the outside looking in. We need to start telling it from the inside looking out. And we count on all of you to help us identify those resources and tell us what's important, and we can go through this so we can contribute to the rich history. That's what we do. We celebrate the history, we educate, we stabilize, and we do that. That's what we're here to do, and we want to do that more. Tell us the stories, and we will work with you to get those stories told. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, you're right, because I never knew. I drive down Union. You know, I see the sign. I had no idea, you know, who, what, and what was the history of that house, right? And even just the sign itself and where that sign actually came from, you know. So always a pleasure, you know, to have you here and share with us, you know, information about our history here in the city of Cleveland. Thank you. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 261-2024 stands approved. Thank you all. All right, Madam Clerk, please excuse the absences of Councilwoman Santana and Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Committee adjourned.
Good meeting.